England time.
Good evening. I'm calling to order the Placerville Planning Commission regular meeting for Tuesday, June 18th, 2024. Will you all please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Thank you. Will you please call the roll?
Vice Chair Carter.
Here.
We'll make note that Commissioner Friend is absent. Chair Keeney.
Here.
Commissioner Lepper.
Here.
Commissioner Smith.
Here.
Thank you. Moving down the agenda, let's see. We have no closed session report. Moving on to item number 4, adoption of the agenda. Can I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
I will move adoption of the agenda with the change to the date to June 18th, 2024.
Okay.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, passes 4-0. All right, next item is the consent calendar. All matters listed under the consent calendar are considered routine, will be enacted by general consent unless any commissioner requests a roll call vote or unless any member of the commission or staff or audience wishes to remove an item for discussion. And I am that member of the commission who's asking us to remove the item for discussion. So we'll move on to, does anyone else, so I'm asking that we pull the minutes. I had a minor change. So let's move on to item 6, which is items pulled from consent calendar. So since I started this, I'll finish my concern and turn it over to anyone else who might have any comments about the minutes. My only thing is that actually first I want to thank the 3 of you for carrying on meeting the work of the commission in my absence at the last meeting. And Vice Chair Carter, you did a fantastic job. You kept things moving along and appreciate the way you handled everything. The only concern I had is very minor. It's on page 8. Concerning National Night Out, it is August 6th, not 8th. So just want to make that change. So anyone who's reading the minutes, during the meeting, it was stated it was on August 6th. So that's just a typo. So that's the only change I had. Anyone else have any comments on the minutes? No? Okay. So with that minor change, I would entertain a motion to adopt the amended minutes.
A motion to adopt the minutes as amended.
Thank you, Ms. Lepper.
I will second.
Second with Mr. Carter. Let's see. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, motion passes 4-0. Moving on to item number 7. This is items of interest to the public and public comment on non-agenda items. This portion of the meeting is reserved for persons wishing to address the commission on any matter not on the agenda tonight and in the subject matter within the jurisdiction of the Planning Commission. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to address the Planning Commission on a non-agenda item? Okay, seeing none, we will move on to item 8, written communications on non-agenda items.
We have none.
Thank you, Ms. Hunter. All right, and we have no presentations or educational workshop sessions, so that takes us to number 10, environmental assessments, public hearings, and up first, 10.1, is site plan review SPR 21-03-E2, variance 2101E2, and variance 2102E2 regarding the Mackinac Hotel extension request. And I'll turn it over to you, Ms. Hunter.
Thank you. So on January 4th, 2022, the Planning Commission approved the subject site plan review and variance requests for the Mackinac Hotel. The project includes construction of a 112-room hotel, roadway improvements, and landscaping for the property located at 3001 Jakeway Road near the intersection of Point View Drive and Highway 50 in eastern Placerville. The variance requests allowed an increase in building height and an increase in allowable compact parking spaces. Under the site plan review provisions of the City Code, approvals become null and void 18 months after the date of approval unless a building permit has been obtained for any portion of the project. The Planning Commission may consider a request for a time extension if the request is filed prior to its expiration deadline. However, in no case shall a site plan review be valid for a period exceeding 5 years from the original date of approval, which for this project would be January 4th, 2027. The Planning Commission previously considered and granted a request for a 12-month extension on July 18th, 2023, extending the approval deadline from July 5th, 2023 to July 5th, 2024. On May 28th, 2024, a timely request was filed by the applicant requesting another extension of 12 months. Based on correspondence with the city following their request, the applicant provided a description of the need for the extension, including delays in consultant response times and financing. Of note, no changes are proposed to the project, and there have been no changes to the City Code that would affect the project since its approval in 2022. Project conditions approved in 2022 and again in 2023 would remain part of the project approval. Further, the environmental analysis for the project adopted by the Commission in 2022 would also remain in effect. Staff recommends making findings 1, 2, and 3 provided on page 4 of the staff report, then grant the 12-month extension for SPR 21-03-E2, variance 21-01-E2, and variance 21-02-E2. This concludes staff's report.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions at this time for staff regarding the extension? Go ahead.
I just wanted to clarify that. I see in the staff report that it's important to note, especially in light of the written communication, that our role under this extension does not involve any reconsideration of previous approvals and must consider only changes to the city code or the project when it renders its decision. I just wanted to make sure that we clarified that, that really is our role in this tonight.
That is correct.
Yep, thank you.
Okay. Okay. Is the applicant's representative here tonight?
They are unavailable.
They are available?
They are unavailable.
Unavailable, okay. And would anyone from the public like to comment on this application for an extension of the approval? Okay, seeing none, I'll close the public hearing part of this and bring it back to the commission for consideration. I think this is very straightforward. We've looked at this project now a couple of times, and I think we've all agreed that it's a good one for the community. So I'm very much in favor of it. Mm-hmm. Anyone else have a comment?
I mean,
Agree. We need hotel space in the city, and it's something we want to encourage.
I would just add that given our defined role in this, I mean, there has been no changes to any relevant city code, or I think it's pretty cut and dry in my opinion.
All right, entertain a motion to approve this extension.
I'll do it. All right, I will make a motion, agree that I'm excited about this project and hope they can keep moving forward. I'll make a motion to adopt the staff report as part of the public record, make the following findings in support of the 12-month time extension request for SPR 21-03E2, variance 21-01E2, and variance 21-02E2, as listed on page 4 of the staff report, and to grant a 12-month time extension for the project, extending the expiration of these entitlements to July 5th, 2025, subject to the conditions listed on the staff report on page 5 and any other associated conditions of approval within the project.
Second.
We have a motion and a second from Mr. Smith. Any further discussion? Okay. I do want to comment, that we received a letter regarding this from Jerry Motak. And I just want to clarify that the first comment in this letter dated June 3rd that was part of the packet regarding the environmental impact report. I just want to state for the record that this is under a negative declaration according to CEQA. After the initial study, no environmental impact report was needed, so we are in compliance with under CEQA. And as far as the other objections that are outlined by Jerry Motak in this letter, I really feel like they are out of our jurisdiction on this matter tonight. So I just don't, I feel like we should comment when we receive we should respond to public comment that we receive, so I just wanted to take care of that. Does anyone else have anything to add about that?
Excellent response, thank you.
Thanks. All right. No other comments. We have a motion and a second. Ms. Hunter, will you please call the roll on this item? That is your responsibility, isn't it?
It is.
Okay. I want to make sure I was designating the proper staff.
Still new. Vice Chair Carter,
Aye.
Chair Keeney,
Aye.
Commissioner Lepper,
Aye.
Commissioner Smith.
Aye.
Very good. Now, this motion passed 4-0. And is this also appealable? Yes, it is
Yes, it is.
appealable. There's for 10 days. So I just wanted to state that for the record. All right. Moving along to item 10.2. This is for a conditional use permit 24-02 for Town Clean Recycle Center. I'll turn this over to Ms. Hunter for the staff report.
Thank you. So within the highway commercial zone, the establishment of a reverse vending machine, otherwise described as a facility that accepts at least one or more type of empty beverage container and issues a cash refund or redeemable credit slip, requires the approval of the Planning Commission pursuant to conditional use permit regulations. The proposed project, the Town Clean Recycle Center, includes the establishment of a certified California Redemption Value, or CRV, beverage container recycling center at 1770 Broadway, a 1,376 square foot unit, which is one of 2 units within a 3,000 square foot commercial building located within the Highway Commercial Airport Overlay Zone in eastern Placerville. All collected material would be stored inside the building until transported off-site, with no exterior storage. Operational hours are proposed between 9 a.m. and 4:30 p.m. Monday through Saturday. Town Clean Recycle Center was previously approved for this location, 1770 Broadway, in 2011 under CUP 11-02, with a similar use as the current proposed project. The facility operated at the subject location between 2011 and 2016 when it moved to Creekview Mini Mart, located at 1600 Broadway, following approval of CUP 15-09, where it has operated since. Staff has determined that the request as conditioned is consistent with the Highway Commercial Zone regulations and that the proposed recycling center will be compatible with adjacent uses, as the proposed use will be conducted entirely within the building. Additionally, the proposed project is consistent with the natural, cultural, and scenic resources element of the general plan in that the project is a recycling program. The facility would be located within the convenience zone of grocery outlet as defined by Cal Recycle, which spans a 1-mile radius. Parking for Town Clean Recycle Center and New Hangtown Sounds, the second tenant at the site, is adequately provided on site. Staff anticipates that vehicle trips for the recycling center shall be of short duration, 15 minutes or less, due to the specific nature of the use. It is the opinion of staff that the recycling center would not negatively affect nearby sensitive use receptors. It should be noted that Town Clean Recycle Center has successfully operated within the city, including at 99 Placerville Drive, 1770 Broadway, and 1600 Broadway for over 14 years with no reported negative impacts. The project is exempt from environmental review pursuant to the California Environmental Quality Act, Guidelines Section 15303, in that the project involves the conversion of a portion of an existing structure to a recycling facility with negligible modifications to the exterior of the structure. Staff would just like to note that there is an error on page 6 of the staff report. For finding II, the reference to site plan review is incorrect. The first line should read, find that the conditional use permit request is exempt from environmental review. And then furthermore, based on comments received prior to the meeting, staff would like to modify the language of footnote 3 on page number 4 to read a 1 mile radius around a supermarket. Staff recommends that the Planning Commission adopt the staff report as part of the public record, find the conditional use permit request is exempt from environmental review, make the following findings in support of the CUP 24-02 request, and conditionally approve CUP 24-02 located at 1770 Broadway based on the findings and subject to the recommended conditions of approval included in Attachment 1. This concludes staff's report.
Thank you very much, and appreciate you drawing our attention to the minor correction. Also, I appreciate you underscoring, it's in the staff report, but underscoring for the public record tonight that this business has operated for over 14 years with no reported negative impacts. I think that it really bears repeating. I appreciate you highlighting that for anyone watching this proceeding tonight. Any questions for staff? Go ahead, Mr. Carr.
Just a quick question. So I think this is the correct time to ask it, but I noticed in the conditions of approval, we're not doing I'm struggling to remember exactly what it's called, but the pavement maintenance, the level of maintenance on their concrete in front of their building. Is that something that we need to include, or has that been covered already?
It should probably be included. We did have there was a comment received prior to the meeting as well that was in regards to striping, and so it would be within your purview to add that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's no landscape maintenance because there's no landscaping, but I did, just to stay consistent with other projects, it seems like we typically do management above a certain level of disrepair and the striping. So yeah, that would be something that we should talk about when the time comes. So
Right. I was also concerned about the striping. Any other questions for staff at this time?
I have none.
I'm sorry, I do have one more if that's okay, Chair.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I actually forgot until just now, but can you explain to me the convenience zone? You said half mile, now it's 1 mile. So within the 1 mile radius of a full line grocery store, what is the significance of that and why is that required for this type of, or do you have any, I wasn't able to find anything online, I looked for it briefly.
It's at the Cal Recycle site.
I missed it,
I was a
okay.
little concerned, and I had asked for a little clarification.
I must have missed that then, okay,
ahead.
yeah. So if you don't mind, I would, yeah.
No, it's basically a state definition. It's
Okay.
a definition with Cal Recycle, so such that there's a preference given that local jurisdictions are supposed to provide for such an application that's within a radius of a major grocery store.
Likely to make it easier for people to return them and actually get their money back versus putting it really far out away from
I guess I'll have
where
to
you
ask the
purchase.
applicant. Typically, I thought they just got their cash from are they getting vouchers for I'll ask the applicant, I guess, when the time comes, yeah.
I was meaning that the state would encourage sites that are more convenient than not. That would be my assumption.
And I looked online, it's a footnote on page 4, that is the definition from Cal Recycle. They talk about a 1 mile radius and grocery outlet, falls, this falls within that 1 mile radius from grocery outlets. It meets that definition from Cal Recycle. And I'm sure you saw as an attachment that there is a certification from Cal Recycle for this. So.
Yeah, Chair Keeney, if I may, typically speaking, there's a lot of different state regulations that the city is required to stay in compliant with, and sometimes if we're applying for grants or certain things, we have to demonstrate that the city is not precluding such a use within that 1 mile radius.
Okay.
So it's more of an indirect has to do with other applications or other, you know, with the relationship that we have with CalRecycle, I guess is the best way to put it.
So we have it on record that we have a facility that falls within that definition for CalRecycle.
Right, and we don't have any regulations that's precluding such a use within that 1 mile
I see.
radius. And I also want to add, Chair, if I may, that this facility was previously located in this location. I just want to make sure that everybody understands it.
Okay,
It's going back home to where it was originally.
okay. Thank you.
Perfect.
All right. Is the applicant in the audience tonight? And we appreciate you coming down. If there's anything you'd like to add, I don't know if anyone has any questions, but please come up to the podium. Good evening.
Good evening. Yes, well, I can clarify that the convenience zone. They considered that because, because they want the people to receive back their CRV, redemption, whatever deposit they make. But also, they penalize the store if they don't have one recycling center.
Gotcha.
They give them a fine daily. Back in the day, I don't know, like 10 years ago, it was $100 per day.
Wow.
Now, I don't know. But, I mean, I have been in the community for almost 15 years. I try to do it, my best to provide this service. I was there before. I moved. Now I want to go back because I purchased that building and I want to establish there, like permanently. Like I don't want to move again. So that would be the main reason why I want to be there.
Thank you. Mr. Navarro, correct?
Thank you.
Yes. And congratulations. Thank you for, investing in our community by purchasing that building and continuing to provide a service like this. I did drive by the site where you're returning, as it turns out, and as well as the Creek View Mini Mart. And I'll just say, it looks like you've got a very limited amount of space. I think hopefully you'll be able to have a little more
Yeah, no,
room.
like you say, I have been doing that for almost 15 years. I mean, in here, but also in the county. Then you guys don't have jurisdiction, but in Georgetown or in Missouri Flat or used to be another one on Pleasant Valley Road, and I have been doing that in Cool, but just moving around, try to be successful in my business.
And I also want to thank you on 14 years without any complaints. That's just fantastic.
Good. I would just try to follow the rules and everything.
I did have one question. The certification that you have from CalRecycle allows you for collection of other items. Do you have any plans to expand the materials that you might collect?
Yeah, well, I might in the future, I might do something, but everything, it creates some kind of like a plan and focus on what you want to do. And at this time, this is what I'm prepared for. Hopefully in the future, if I see another opportunity, I will come back with.
Okay. And my last question before I turn it over to my fellow commissioners is, could you kind of walk me through the process? Is it in the staff report there was talk about a reverse vending machine? Are you going to physically have a machine there, or I understand you're going to have an attendant?
There is the possibility. I mean, that's one of the goals. Then for the future, not at this time, because it's very expensive to do that, and it's one step at a time. Hopefully, at some point we can be able to just leave it there, and people at whatever convenient time that they have, they can come and just do it themselves.
Okay. Thank
In
you.
the meantime, someone is going to be there, just working there during that time, the business hour.
Do any other commissioners have Mr. Smith?
Mr. Navarro, I may have missed it, but you started to talk about $100 a day being imposed. Could you explain what you're referring to? Did I hear you correctly?
Well, yeah, that's the penalized that the store received from the state by they not providing a recycling center, because they have a sale of beverages container more than $2 million. That's why they require for them to have a recycling center there. Otherwise, they give this fine to the store.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions of the applicant?
I don't. I just want to say thank you as well for running this business. It's a great source of income for people and also returns the money that people have paid to them. So I really want to thank you. I think it's really important, and I really wish you all the best of luck in your returned location.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much again. I appreciate you coming down and taking a few minutes to talk to us, and please take a seat, and I'll open up if any members of the audience would like to comment on the project. Please come up to the podium, and we appreciate it if you don't mind stating your name.
Sure. My name is Sal Gutierrez. I believe on 1739 Airport Court. So my house is right above their building.
Okay.
I think my property borders there, so my only concern is the noise. Because unfortunately in that area, the noise travels like through a funnel. I literally can hear the conversations or discussions between the homeless, especially when they were in that area. It was horrible. We were considered moving. I'm being here for, living in that location for like 12 years. I have a cabinet shop, and mother-in-law run a cabinet shop there. But my only concern is the noise during the day, because right now I can actually hear them from where they are, especially when they do the glass all the way home, even though it's a little farther, it's probably like twice as far. So that would be my only concern, because now it's going to be noise pretty much 6 days a week, and there's no avoiding it.
Yeah, especially
I
the
don't know
class and-
if my other neighbors saw the letter, but I think I'm the one most directly affected.
Okay.
I am all for recycling, and I love that that's being done, but in this case, it will affect especially my family. So I'm in opposition.
Okay, thank you very much. Anyone else from the audience like to address this project, or the application, I should say? Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Les Russell. When this was first presented to the commission in 2011, I was sitting up there, and I owned the building that he was applying for. Since that time, I'm no longer on the commission. I spent 10 years up there. About 3 months ago, Adrian came to me and expressed an interest in buying the building from me, and since that time, he has purchased the building at 1770. And so he was my tenant for 14, 15 years. And I should be so lucky. I have some other properties to have tenants like him. He was probably the best of the bunch. And this is the first I've heard of any consideration about noise. Behind the building, it's a hillside of pretty dense vegetation, and I'm not sure where the property line is between that building and this gentleman's property. Anyway, I endorse it completely. Adrian was a great tenant. He kept a clean facility, and there was a mention of landscaping. When it was first approved in 2011, I previously had owned a winery in the South County, and I gave him some half barrels, and he planted some plants in those barrels, and I think you still have those down at the Creekside convenience store. So probably he could bring those back up and put them in front of the 1770. If you have any questions, but I really endorse the project and Adrian. He's a great guy.
Okay. Thank you very much. Appreciate you coming down and sharing your insights with us. No, I'm sorry. We we typically only allow the speaker to come up one time. At this time, does anyone else want to speak to the commission about the project? Okay. At this point, yes, Mr. Smith?
Yeah, I did have a question about the noise. And it was because when we look at the photograph, as you may have seen in the staff report, it gives us a visual image of this project and the trees behind it. So the question is, for any of you, if you have any ideas to how to ameliorate the issue of noise. From the previous owner, we heard that it hadn't been a problem or you hadn't heard of it before. Is there any way it can be addressed by either the neighbor or by this project?
Okay, thank you,
Like a
Mr. Smith.
fence
At this
or
point, I'm
something
going
like
to close the public portion of the hearing and bring this back for some input from staff on the noise issue. I think that's the best way to handle it at this point in our deliberation. That wasn't addressed in the application that I saw. Can you shed some light on this, or what we could possibly do to mitigate any impact like that?
Chair Keeney, from staff's perspective, there's nothing to ameliorate. We do not see a noise issue from the collection of cans and bottles. The actual containment of the materials will be indoors. We don't see, it's not a heavy industrial use. It's just a collection of bottles and cans that will be conducted inside. We do not see any noise impact, anything above that you would see in a commercial zone.
Okay, and that actually brings up an interesting point. Mr. Navarro, I'd like to ask you to come back up to the podium, please. And can you assure us that the collection, is that going to take place inside? I realize now at your location, there's a big container, and so all the work is outside. Is there a way that the way you're going to do your business at the new location, that it would dampen that noise impact?
Well, the noise pretty much, when I don't see that as a lot of problem, but we can try to minimize we do everything inside, but when the person put the products in the basket, they can, it has to be some noise. And I can, just try to minimize by maybe what is like, I don't see how I can.
So outside, a customer comes up and has their recyclables,
Yeah,
they take it inside for?
They put it from the processes. They arrive and they just put aluminum in one basket, the plastic in another one because it's different price. They bring it over and we weigh it. There is a process that then the Cal Recycle train us to follow. It's part of the inspection. We have to put it from one basket to another one, make sure that all the product that we're receiving is eligible to be paid at redemption. So that's,
So there's just as of necessity, there's a certain amount of activity that's going to take place outside the structure.
That's
Okay.
It needs to be.
Thank you.
I can just, I don't see how I can minimize the noise. If there is some way, I would have been doing it by now, but
Okay.
I just.
Well, thank you. Thank you for coming back up to the podium and answering my concerns about that. So I'll bring it back now to the commission for consideration.
Certainly sensitive to the homeowners' expressed concern, but the location of it being in the highway commercial zone, it's not in a neighborhood, per se, so I don't really see there being any reason for us to impose any kind of noise things, not to mention it's primarily during working hours. It's not if it was overnight, if there was really prominent things, but I think unfortunately it's just the way that his property backs up is maybe just a little bit hard for him, but I don't think that there's any reason to impose any kind of stricter standards for the property owner.
Anyone else?
I want to be sensitive to public concerns, but a lot of the discussion is very vague and undefined. Noise, it's something you're not going to see, you hear it. There are all kinds of phone applications you can get that measure decibels, and there is a city ordinance for noise, and there are measures that either the neighbor or the business can use of signs. I've seen that addressed when it came up before the county plan commission on an issue. But for us to address it, it's hard because it's not defined. We don't know how you measure, because nobody said they have measured noise, but you can measure it. And if it's a problem, you can address it, first of all, presumably in a neighborly way, and if not, you've got an ordinance.
That was going to be my comment, that this particular development is in the highway commercial zone, but it obviously borders a residential area. The city does have noise ordinances for residential zones, and if you feel like that noise ordinance is being violated, there are processes that you can go through with the city through code enforcement and other things. And I would recommend that if you feel like that noise ordinance is being violated, it's not necessarily something that we can do here right now, but if you feel like your noise is too loud for your residential zone, there is a route through the city to address that, kind of like my fellow commissioner was just talking about. So that's what I would recommend to you guys, is to use the existing city processes for those.
Okay, thank you very much for both of your input. Back to the project, does staff have any input or any comment on the noise impacts, or do you think we've covered that sufficiently?
Staff feels it's covered sufficiently, but staff does not see a noise impact. The noise to be generated from, cans being dumped into the weight. There's a drawing in there that shows where the weight scale is. That's probably where the basket is located. But even if it was outside, staff does not see that noise as being of any concern. Yeah, you may hear it for a distance, but it's going to be very faint. It's not going to exceed any noise levels that would cause a concern or damage hearing or be of such a nuisance.
Okay, thank
That's
you.
staff's opinion.
As far as the project description and our conditions of approval for the project, we briefly touched on earlier about pavement condition level and also delineating parking spots there. If I noticed on one of the attachments, there's an aerial view of the businesses, and you can see that to the east or to the left in that picture, there's already, I guess that's Hangtown Sounds, which is going to continue to exist there. A lot of the parking is already taken up, and the rest of the spots are not delineated. I agree with the staff conclusion. There's plenty of area, but I think it would just be a good practice to have parking stalls outlined so that people, when they come in, they can quickly navigate the site. That was going to be one of my suggestions. And Mr. Carter, you were concerned about being consistent with other projects and that we should address pavement condition level.
56 is a number that jumps into my head as the level that's the minimum.
That's correct.
Okay.
So we found a previous approval. So I have language.
Perfect.
That's what I was going to think. Do we have a boilerplate for it? 'Cause
Perfect.
that'll be the easiest.
Yeah, that number
thing.
stuck in my head. I was pretty sure that was it, but I just couldn't remember the acronym for pavement condition or level, if that's, yeah.
PCI.
Great, so we've
Cool.
got
So she has
one
language. That will be great.
Yeah,
And
and
it's
how
just
do the rest of you
consistent.
feel about delineating the parking spots? I think it's a small addition of some striping is all that I think would be good, again, for people to navigate coming off of a fairly busy road so that they know exactly where they're supposed to pull their vehicle in.
Yeah, I think that sounds really reasonable and not a huge imposition on the business owner.
Okay.
Chair Keeney, staff has language for the commission's consideration, and typically, we've been attempting to add a pavement index condition on all site plan reviews and CUPs, and we certainly can add striping as well, because those items are supposed to be maintained in good condition. So, go ahead and.
So if you want me to read it. Parking lot paving shall be maintained at a PCI, parentheses, pavement condition index, and of not less than 56, period. Wheel stops and parking stall striping shall be maintained in sound condition. If you would like another, you can add parking stalls shall be striped.
Okay, and that would be then just condition number 9. We'll just add it to the list of recommended conditions of approval. Okay, great. So we have a slight amendment to that, and is there any other discussion? Well, then I'll entertain a motion to take action on the.
Did you write that down, the PCI?
I did, but not all the way, so.
I was going to just reference them. You want to go for it?
Yeah, I'll go ahead.
So we have a motion made by Mr. Carter.
I will offer a motion.
You're up.
I will move that we adopt the staff report as part of the public record, that we find the conditional use permit, removing and site plan review are exempt from CEQA, Section 15303, that we make the following findings in support of conditional use permit CUP 2402 for operation of recycling center within the highway commercial zone as listed on the staff report at page 6. That we conditionally approve CUP 2402 located at 1770 Broadway based on project information and findings included in the staff report and subject to the recommended conditions of approval included in attachment 1 of the staff report dated June 18th, 2024, and amending attachment 1, recommended conditions of approval, to add item number 9. I didn't get the exact wording, but PCI not less than 56, and that striping, and what was the other language for the parking?
Wheel strips and parking stall striping to be maintained in sound condition.
It's in sound condition. I would add that as condition number 9 to the existing conditions on the recommended conditions of approval, and that is my motion.
Thank you. We have a motion
Second?
and a second from Ms. Lepper. Any further discussion? Okay. Roll call vote, please.
Vice Chair Carter,
Aye.
Chair Keeney,
Aye.
Commissioner Lepper,
Aye.
Commissioner Smith.
Aye.
Okay. Congratulations, it passed 4-0. The approval is appealable for 10 days, but good luck with your project. We appreciate you investing in our community and appreciate you coming down here and addressing our questions. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Great. Wow, brisk meeting. Moving right along. For continued items, we have none, and new business, we have none. Moving on to 13, matters from commissioners and staff. 13.1 is staff reports. Do we have any staff
Just
reports?
say that the next meeting is scheduled for July 2nd. I know I've heard from Commissioner Lepper and Commissioner Carter, they will not be in attendance, so.
Okay, so we'll need,
Better hope Michael's back from England.
that's right, so
He's
you're
the-
able to?
No, I'll be out of town on the
will be-
July
okay,
2nd, so I won't
July
be here.
2nd.
I definitely will not be here either, so.
Yeah.
Okay, so we will see if we have a quorum for July 2nd. And then the next meeting would be July
16th.
16th. And do you anticipate agenda items for that date?
I believe so.
Okay, all right, unclear. The 8 ball is unclear at this moment. Okay, so we'll just stay with the July 2nd for this time being. And Mr. Rivas, any report from you?
Chair, I have nothing to report that we didn't cover at our last meeting, but I'm very happy to answer any questions on any projects if commissioners have any questions or.
Okay.
I guess my question is, Commissioner Carter had asked about the bylaws. Normally, the bylaws are considered the first part of the year, and the report was that there's been some issues raised by the city attorney. Could you fill us in on that subject?
There were some issues regarding what constitutes a quorum, and then there was another issue with some of the changes made, and I can't recall exactly what it was. So because of our workload, we're just not able to get to it right now. So we'll get to it as soon as possible, but I don't believe that anything in the bylaws are stifling or causing any issue with us conducting our meetings that makes it a priority.
What were the discussions that you had with the city attorney by phone, in writing, or in person?
It was in person.
Okay. And nothing was written as to what these issues are explained?
No, nothing in writing.
Okay, because Rule 15, point D, says that the city attorney works as the attorney for the planning commission, and that the planning commission can request the city attorney to be present for a meeting. What can we do to get the answers to these questions in writing?
Why don't you make a formal request to have the city attorney in attendance at a meeting? And we'll only be in closed session.
I mean, that would help, because what we've heard in the past is that both of you have extensive work, and we've heard that again. Sometimes meetings get continued because you've got a large caseload. So it might speed things up if we didn't have an intermediary and heard directly from the attorney what these issues are that remain unknown to, I think, the rest of us. So could we do that the next meeting?
Probably not.
Pardon?
No,
Why?
because our workload is too heavy right now. So we're not going to make a promise that we can come back to you with the city attorney at the next meeting.
Additionally, the next meeting will only have 3 members. You might want a meeting with all 5 members.
We couldn't consider the bylaws anyway with only 3 members. Has to be all 5.
I would agree with that. But the point of the matter is we are quite busy with applications, and that's priority number one.
Priority is number one.
Priority number one is the person at the counter, the person that submitted an application that we're working on.
Okay.
So with all due respect, we will get to it when we can get to it. We're very, very busy right now, and we're working overtime, and things are tough for us.
And I appreciate your concern. There were some extensive amendments, edits to the bylaws. I remember that, we submitted those, and I think operationally we are functioning quite well with our existing bylaws. And with respect to the costs of having the city attorney, come to another meeting, I think we would be, it'd be a good service for us to see what the comments are. I'm sure at some point there will be written comments, a response to what was submitted, and then we can look, weigh the comments versus the edits that were made at that time to the bylaws. And then perhaps if we still have questions, concerns, once we've reviewed the comments from the city attorney, then have them come to a meeting, subsequent to that. But rather than ask for the review before we've gotten those that written reply, I think that would be a good way to proceed.
I'm just wondering if there's a neither way, a more efficient way to speed it up. For example, written questions, and then the answers coming back from the city attorney, our attorney, can be in confidence. It's in a closed-door session. It doesn't necessarily mean the person is physically present, but right now it's very vague as to what are these issues. And if we had it in writing, that would help us.
Well, I appreciate your concerns, and I'm glad you're staying on top of the issue. But as far as our agenda, I would like, I'm sure the city attorney is getting to it as quickly as possible. So, we've submitted our document. I think the proper procedure would be to look at the response, and if we have continued concerns, from the whole body, then move forward from that point. But thank you for bringing that up. It has been out there for quite some time. Moving on to 13.2, so that Mr. Smith had his concern about the bylaws. Do other planning commissioners have something you want to bring up? And keep in mind, we're going to get to the special committee report next. So nothing. Okay, let's move to then 13.2.1. I want to turn that over to you, Mr. Carter.
I will make the report this evening, yes. So obviously, we don't have our amended memo tonight. There's a couple of reasons for that. One is mostly my fault. Just life gets in the way. issues with the family and stuff, so I appreciate your patience on that, continued patience. Also, we received a lot of excellent input from Commissioner Lepper at the last meeting that I need to talk with staff about Brown Act constraints, but I would like to have a conversation with you, but I haven't done that yet because I don't know exactly how to get, whether I can do that within Brown Act. So I'll find out from staff, and if I would like to get some more information about your suggestion that you made at the last meeting, and how to go about doing that, because I think that's a really good idea. We have a direction, we have a draft. Obviously, I won't be here at the next meeting, and neither will Commissioner Lepper. So yeah, so the next meeting will be out for sure. If we do have a July 16th meeting, we will hopefully have something for you. Yeah, it's, I hope you guys are happy with it. We've worked really hard on it, and I'm looking forward to getting some specific direction that we can recommend to the City Council in our capacity as the Historic Review Committee. I think there's some things that we can kick up the hill for their consideration, that it's our responsibility in that capacity to make those recommendations to them. So we've got some specific things that we're excited to talk with you guys about, and the possibility of the full commission making a recommendation to the City Council to get a couple of balls rolling, I think is going to be forthcoming. So
That's good news. I did want to spend a little more time on talking about that memo, but so that we don't lose that thread. What about communications between Mr. Carter and Ms. Lepper? How can that take place? We have a special committee that's dealing with this item, and so I don't want to be in violation of the Brown Act. Should things just be written and circulated through staff first?
It would be my opinion, and we can certainly ask, we can make the inquiries regarding any Brown Act violation, but it would be, at least my opinion at this point, that, the two members of the special committee can communicate with each other and formulate this special report, but then discussions need to take place with the full commission in a public session. So there shouldn't be then yet a third commissioner then getting involved. I think that would constitute a Brown Act violation.
Exactly. That's what I was afraid of. So I'm just going to ask then, perhaps, would you mind putting your thoughts into a short memo that could be included for the whole commission to see?
Absolutely not. No, I would be happy to do so. And basically, you're referencing just kind of some of the roadmap stuff I was talking about.
and specifically about updating the
Inventory.
the inventory with possible pictures, snapshots in time, kind of those suggestions I thought were really valuable.
Yeah.
And I was being overly cautious without reaching, not to reach out
Totally.
outside the purview of the special committee.
You doing that?
Yeah, and that's,
Yeah.
I wanted
A
to
lot
make
of
sure we
those
had
have
all these
come-
conversations out in the open.
Totally. Well, and a lot of my ideas have come just in us chewing on this together. So,
100%.
I'd be happy to. And the email that I wrote to the meeting that I wasn't able to attend was quickly written, and so I could flesh those out, which I think tie into what we've been talking about, and just kind of share my more full, robust thoughts on some ideas that I've had or that have developed throughout these conversations. So I'd
Absolutely.
be happy to at least do that, to flesh out my thoughts and share them. I'll send them to staff.
Please, direct
Yeah,
them
yeah,
to
yeah,
staff.
no, totally.
Staff then provides them to the whole commission, and
Exactly.
actually it becomes a public document at that point.
Totally.
That is what,
Yep.
we need to tread carefully around.
Absolutely.
100%, but I understand what you're requesting, and I'm happy to engage with that and share whatever I can to be helpful. So
Because because you also mentioned in that meeting, having specific tasks for specific people, not exactly that, but, kind of having an idea, a roadmap, as you said, who would be responsible for these individual items, and who would, how would we move them forward? And I think that having your input on that would be really helpful as we finish crafting this I keep calling it a roadmap, it's not really that, it's just a memo. But,
Right,
yeah.
yeah. But the goal being that we
yes.
actually can move on a road to get
Yes.
some things done. And like I said, I really do appreciate the effort and time that you guys have put in. I value it, and I think it's a really important thing. But I would really love to have it be as robust as possible.
Absolutely.
And I'm happy to participate however I can.
That'll be wonderful. I'd appreciate that. Yeah, and and there are a couple of specific recommendations that we're going to bring to the full committee that we hope you guys would be interested in recommending to the City Council, and I look forward to the discussion when that time comes.
Fantastic, and I appreciate you continuing to work on it, and Amy, appreciate you offering to, put your thoughts on paper. For my part, I went back and looked at your memo from March and tried to parse out some of the recommendations from that original memo. I know that that's your working document, and you're going to, present. That's what you're going to present to us when it's ready. But I realize, again, I want to thank you both for the hard work that you put in summarizing all of these issues and putting it to paper. That is always difficult, and you did a lot of work. One thing that I noticed was that the priority that was listed first and got a lot of attention was a new ordinance. And we just talked about, I think, one of your concerns is, Ms. Lepper, is community engagement. And so my request tonight, rather than going through the memo, since you're obviously still working on it, I just wanted to mention or request that you perhaps separate out actions that the Planning Commission could take as opposed to something like you listed first the new ordinance. That really is the City Council's work. And I'm not sure that we are, well, actually, we haven't taken a vote that would be our recommendation, but listed under that first priority is a number of tasks that Planning Commission could take on to determine whether that really is the right course. So I'm just asking for clarity and a clear listing of what you think priorities are, focusing more on what Planning Commission, what's in our authority, what we could do.
Can I address that point first before you?
Sure.
Okay, and so I think the assumption that we're operating on is that the founding resolution of the Historic Advisory Committee, which was then vested in us upon its dissolution, was that we're tasked with making recommendations to the City Council. Obviously, we can't take action, but in our capacity as a Historic Advisory Committee, we are tasked with making recommendations to advance things that will help the historic nature of our city to the City Council. We would do that as a full body, obviously. And so that's kind of, I think, the direction that we were talking about was asking the full committee in its responsibilities as the Historic Advisory Committee to make a formal recommendation to the City Council to address that issue. Obviously not us taking on the idea of changing ordinances, but we can make a recommendation to the City Council that we think it's appropriate for them
And if
to address the ordinance.
Right, and as you said, if the full commission makes that, we would have to have our own set of findings
Absolutely.
to substantiate that. And I think you, in the original March memo, you're getting there. But those then are individual things that we should take up as a body.
Yes.
And take public input on those things before we make a
Absolutely.
formal.
Yep.
And another thing that I know that this is mentioned repeatedly in the March memo is the use of workshops. And I think we heard, I can't remember the date, but when Mr. Morris was here, and also we look at the workshop that we had about a year ago. That isn't an expensive undertaking, and what I would like to do is to distill this down to something that the commission can take on within its agenda. And so I don't want to draw this out too much tonight, and I, again, thank you for your continued work on this, but if it is possible for you to describe this in small bites that we can take on, that we can add to agendas, what we have is a really passionate body here. We had a big effort about a year ago, a lot of expense in that workshop, and we all got, enthusiasm, and we don't want to lose that momentum. So let's, I think you've said this numerous times, take off, small bites, things that we can do, but I want to work with that, with whatever the special committee brings forward, and then work with staff to agendize these things within 13.2, so on a regular basis. So that, it's agendized, the public knows that we're working on this, and they can come down here and talk to us. They can send us, a memo, an email, so that we get their input and so that we're doing our due diligence without that added expense of, and time too. We need to respect the public's time. They know that we meet on regularly on Tuesdays, so that they can put that on their calendar if something concerns them, or again, they can send some written comment. But rather than taking the time to plan and schedule a whole new meeting, I'd rather see us make some forward progress. And reading your original memo of March, we may get to the point where we have to have another big workshop for the public. But let's make sure that we have done everything we can before we get to that point, and that we can really justify the expense and effort, justify that to the city council so they can put it
Maybe
in their
this
budget.
might help to share with you. The vision wasn't some big extravaganza, and when we use the name workshop, it's really nothing different than what we had a few weeks ago when it came to the short-term housing rental policy. And we heard from people. But we heard from them on a night when we had a very crowded agenda. Tonight we're
And
through within
thanks for
1 hour.
pointing that out. That is
Right.
something I want to underscore tonight, is that it's, I feel it's my responsibility as chair to work with staff to
Sure,
understand our agenda.
absolutely.
So
And
we fit these things in.
tonight we had theoretically extra time. So it doesn't necessarily mean a very expensive process. And we don't know what people are going to say, but it's really important to hear from them, because whatever we recommend is going to have a lot more force and meaning if we've heard from the public rather than assuming we're the experts, kind of thing.
And, exactly, very well put. And so I think that's enough said. Any other
Thank you.
comments?
I'll just wrap it up by saying I'm happy to let you know that this is exactly the direction that we are going, especially after our last meeting, is to have, that first document was kind of amalgamous, overreaching ideas. And so now our goal is to boil it down into actionable items to bring to you guys, to either say yes or no, to recommend or not to recommend, to move forward or not to move forward, but to have actual actionable items for the things that Commissioner Smith and I think are of the priority, and then see what you guys think about it.
Okay.
And so that's the direction we're going. We're right in line with what you have in mind.
Fantastic.
And so, yeah.
And also, I just, it doesn't have to be exhaustive.
Yep.
I think that as we get down the road, we'll probably find that there are other topics that maybe need to address, but we'll get there. And so, again, I don't want to give you too much labor, but appreciate your efforts on our behalf.
You got this.
Okay, so that concludes the special committee report. And is there anything else? Seeing nothing, at 7:03, I adjourn the Planning Commission. Thank you all.